Summer routines live or die by how easy they are, and honestly, if something takes too much effort, I'm out. That's why Groons is my go-to. It's my one daily pack of gummies covering my greens, vitamins, and minerals. Plus, it has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber, which is more than 2 cups of broccoli. No mixing powders, no giant pills, no hassle. I just rip open the pack and I'm done. They taste good and they make it easy to stay on top of my health, even when life gets busy. Save up to 52% with the code PODCAST at Groons.co. That's code PODCAST at GRUNS.co.
It's the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm, episode 218. I am Mike Grimm, voice of the Golden Gophers, and welcome back to the podcast. What a run for the Golden Gopher women's gymnastics team, advancing to the 4 on the floor Final Four and completing the best finish in program history at number 4 this past week. The run included a national championship on balance beam from Brooklyn Rowley and more. We'll get a recap from the elated head coach, Jenny Hansen, who returns to the Go Gopher podcast. We'll also tip our hat to Gopher men's golf for their tournament win a few weeks ago at a tournament at Ohio State and preview the upcoming Big Ten championship meet in Oregon. Minnesota head coach Justin Smith will join us a little later on. 2 fantastic conversations this episode, so stay tuned. Our Go Gopher podcast is presented by alumni-owned Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're a business founder planning to exit your business, start by contacting Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. Sunbelt serves more businesses up to $5 million in revenue than anyone, and True North M&A serves companies with revenues up to $150 million. Get a confidential, no-cost, no-obligation business valuation started today. Make the most of your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. Longtime Gopher sports supporter Cub is a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher podcast with Mike Grimm. In a hurry, don't worry. Cub delivers. Get fresh meat, produce, everyday essentials, and more delivered to your door. Cub is the official grocer of the Golden Gophers and proud to support Gopher athletics for over 20 years. Shop happy. The Go Gopher podcast is also presented by onX Maps. Find out how to download the onX Hunt app for free by listening to the Go Gopher podcast. We're podcasting episode 218 from the Aquarius Home Services studio. We invite you to subscribe or follow the Go Gopher podcast. It's free to do so. You can also go back and listen to the Go Gopher podcast from previous weeks. Last episode, for example, we heard from Golden Gopher football assistant coaches Muhammad Ibrahim, Isaac Frichty, Mariano Sori-Marin, and Daniel DePrado in a preview of the spring game. This week, we're talking gymnastics and golf. Women's gymnastics coach Jenny Hansen will join me next.
Hey Gopher fans, Jalen Crocker-Johnson here from Minnesota men's basketball. In basketball, wins come from preparation, trust, and executing when it matters the most. That's how True North Mergers and Acquisitions approaches selling your businesses. True North M&A is a local alumni-owned company and a proud sponsor of Gopher Athletics, helping businesses of all sizes make winning moves. Thinking about selling? True North's M&A helps maximize your life's work and close strong in crunch time. Visit tnma.com for confidential conversation.
This is Jim Suhan for TSR Injury Law, 612-TSR-TIME. TSR Injury Law started off as a small business. They are now a large, very successful business because they help people, because they win cases. If you are injured, call 612-TSR-TIME. They will help you out or point you in the right direction. They will not charge you unless they win your case, and they win a lot of cases. We don't want you to need their help. They don't want you to need their help. But if you do need their help, call 612-TSR-TIME.
Episode 218, we are starting this episode from the Women's Gymnastics Performance Center, and what a couple of week run this team has been on. Jenny Hansen is the head coach, on to nationals, 4th place finish, big Thursday night semifinal. What is the view from Cloud 9 like, Coach?
I'll be honest, I'm still processing everything. It is pretty surreal, to know what we just accomplished and making history for this program. It is still hard to believe. I'm so proud of these athletes, and I remember everything very vividly, but it's still processing it is a whole nother level of I'm trying to get there. So
we chatted a week ago Monday before you guys left for Fort Worth, and I think I worded the question. I didn't realize that the term underdog was going to be kind of a motivating factor. I said you guys are kind of viewed as the underdog. Do you want to embrace that role, or are you offended by it? And you kind of took it to where we can kind of embrace it, but we have this confidence level. We don't think we're underdogs. And, man, it looked like that's exactly how you guys handled this event.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like our athletes went in absolutely knowing they belong there and that they could continue to have great success. I didn't feel like they were intimidated by the moment at all. They just went in to do what they knew how to do. And that's hard at the national stage to not let that moment become too big. And I really feel like they were really zoned into each other, really didn't pay attention to too much else except exactly what we were doing.
And from that standpoint, to capture the moment, to the moment not being too big, as a coach, you have to take some credit for that. So how did you instill in these guys that mindset that this is your time?
Well, we did talk a lot about just being us. We talked about not trying to be perfect, because I think that's when the moment becomes too big, when you feel like you have to be the best you've ever been in your life. And really just go do what we know how to do. You don't have to be the best you've ever been, because you're what you do every day is great, and that should be enough to continue to help us move forward. So I think that was helpful for them, just going into that meet like, well, it's just one more beam routine, one more vault. I do this all the time. So I do think it made the situation feel very much like what they do every day.
You've been to nationals and taken teams to nationals enough that it wasn't like just this unforeseen goal at the start of the year, right? I mean, I think You've all talked about the idea that was the goal, and it was a realistic chance to get to the nationals, and like get to regionals is one thing, and then get to nationals. So take me back to November and December as the season was starting. What was your mentality to what this team could do? And did you have a vision that, hey, if things go right and we improve, that this is maybe where it could end up?
Yeah. I think in that time of the year, nationals, the final, the 8 was the goal, and we really felt like we could do that. They were improving at a really steady pace at that time of the year, but we needed to make some jumps, and I do think they were making those along the way. I think the realization that we could be in the Final Four, obviously just getting to the Final 8 with the regional finals that we had, it was no easy task, and they performed amazingly just to get us to the top 8. But I think once we were there, we knew, we're like, okay, well, we can compete with these teams, and this is absolutely doable. We can do this. We've got to do a great job, but so does everybody else, So I think that was encouraging for us to know that you can't really make a big mistake and expect to move on, but you just got to go do your job. Was
there some comfort in knowing the competition per se, in the sense that you had been close to UCLA a couple of times, like tight, yes, and you had beaten Arkansas. Oklahoma's Oklahoma, but you never know. If they had a couple of bad deals too, you could be there. But was there comfort in knowing, like, we stacked up? Not only have we stacked up, we've almost beaten the quote best team in the Big Ten, and we have beaten the other team from the SEC, who apparently forgot about you when they talked about it pre-match, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's what gave us a lot of confidence, going, okay, well, we've already been against Arkansas, and we know they're a great team, but we were able to beat them on that day. And then our last meet against UCLA, we were behind them by a 10th. And I think that gave our team, like, a lot of confidence. Hey, 1/10. I mean, that does not take much. We're in this, So I do think that knowing our competition did give us some confidence going into that meet.
So as the things are unfolding last Thursday, you get to the final rotation. It's bars. You're needing a top 2 to advance. You're in third, so you need to perform. Did you have any idea that your athletes would perform? I mean, I'm not sure, right, in the history of the program there's ever been a more clutch rotation than what happened in the most clutch, when the clutch was needed, right?
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if they knew in that moment that what we needed to do. And, obviously UCLA was going on vault and all the other teams were still competing. So you don't really know exactly what you need in those ones. You need to do well. And I think for each of these athletes, let's just go and do a routine that I do every day in practice. But there were some clutch routines. I think, starting, Lacey started us well, Ariana kept the momentum going, and then Taryn did one of her best routines, and then Lacey was phenomenal. I think after she went, we felt so good knowing that the next two athletes up have been incredibly consistent for us. We're like, okay, I think there is a possibility this could happen.
And then I think all the landings got stuck. The scores were good. And as a coach, I don't really know how it works. And you're obviously watching your own team. UCLA ran into a little bit of an issue, too, with their vault. Were you aware of that at the time? Were you able to scoreboard watch, so to speak?
I'll be honest. It was more of the noise from the crowd that kind of alerted to me that, maybe things weren't going well, because you hear the hush or from the crowd that, okay, maybe something didn't go well. There were other coaches rotating with us, with individuals. They were kind of updating us, I'd probably say, more than what we were paying attention to. And they're like, you guys got this. We know it, so they were rooting us on. And they had, I would say, almost as much excitement as we did, when we were able to make it on. So, I was trying not to pay too much attention, but I did know after a couple of those UCLA vaults that the door had been opened. We had to take advantage of that, but we knew that there was a chance. Yeah,
and then those clutch performances sealed the deal. When it became apparent, or when kind of official word came down, what was the wave of emotion there for you and your athletes?
I was in shock. I'll be honest, disbelief. I know I've gotten a couple of pictures of me with my hands on my mouth and just being like, oh my gosh, we just did that. I just kept saying it over and over again, I can't believe we just did this. This was amazing. But I think seeing our athletes and their emotion was the best. How excited they were, the tears of joy and the hugs that were given was, I'll always remember those moments. Those are my favorite, watching them, embrace each other with the emotion that they have was pretty incredible.
And just a juxtaposition of that, because I know you just commented on the belief you had in your team, right? So it's a believable thing, but yet you're like, I can't believe we really did it, right? Yes. So it's an interesting balance beam you're walking on there, no pun intended, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you're right. I knew we were capable. I knew we had the routines in us that could deliver a performance like that. But, to have it happen in that moment, it still was a little, shocking. It's it was enough for us to continue our dream, to be able to continue that momentum. And, there are many times when you can have a fantastic day, but that's it. It still ends. And for us to have a fantastic day and take that next step was pretty incredible.
And you had a national champion individually on beam. Brooklyn, take me through her routine. Did you have, I asked her, we had a little media availability with some of your athletes earlier today before this recording, and I asked her, did she wake up Thursday morning thinking she'd be a national champion? And she said, not really. And I said, did you even consider it? She goes, I just wanted to go compete. Did you wake up Thursday morning thinking you might have an individual champion, whether it was her or somebody else on the team?
Well, I knew we had athletes that were capable of doing incredible things, and obviously becoming All-Americans. I knew that was in them. And Brooklyn really just delivered a beam routine that we see all the time. But I will say it was probably the best one she's ever done in competition. And I knew that there were a lot of great routines in the session earlier, but after they showed her score, I was so hopeful that score would last the rest of the meet because we were first up on beam. And I'm so happy that, the judges agreed, that they saw that routine and they just thought it was incredible, because it absolutely was.
You mentioned also earlier with the group session that you were seeing gains all the way through the year, that even as recently as right before the Nationals, that might be the best practice routine we've seen whoever do. So take me through the growth of this team that way too.
I don't think they ever let up. I feel like after every competition, they kept looking for more ways to get better. They weren't really ever satisfied. And not that they weren't proud of what they were doing, but they were always looking for that little half-tenth. How can I get this and that? And you saw that in practice. And, we are always trying to encourage that, but they were taking ownership of it themselves at a level that I don't think we've seen before.
We are sitting in this beautiful, relatively new, this is your second or first year now? I'm losing track. Entering year two of being able to work out in this unbelievable performance center. The old one, Pike Gym, had not the greatest of space, and you guys were very good through that. What has this, if anything, meant to you, and was this something that helped push you to the next step in the chain of where you hope to end up someday?
Absolutely. This was always a dream of ours, was this facility. I've been here a very long time, and Pike was always what we had known, but we knew if we ever want to make that leap to this next level, this was going to be something that was really important for us, and for so many reasons. Recruiting, the way we train, essentially the way we train has made a big difference. I really believe we were able to do some things differently this year that helped push us over the edge. And we got to train in this gym in the summer, which allowed us to train some harder skills that we never could have done at Pike. So I already believe this gym has helped us get better, and I'm very excited about what it can continue to help us do.
Maybe you don't know specifics on square footage, but just as an example, because I think people say, oh, it's great, they got a new place. I mean, it's beautiful, but compare it, like how big was Pike and how much more room just generally do you have, and what can you do training-wise that you maybe couldn't do in the old place?
Yeah, this gymnastics space is about 1.5 times bigger than what we had over at Pike, so it's almost 13,000 square feet. I think the layout of everything has allowed us to add more equipment, but mostly the pits. That has been critical for us and how we've been able to train and learn new skills, have athletes come back from injuries safer. There's just been so many things that we can do in this space we could not do at Pike. And so I do think it kind of held some of our athletes back in some ways, training at Pike, but this gym allows us to train them in a really safe way from every stage of their development. And I think it's allowed us to have athletes compete new skills, higher level skills, and do them safely in ways we've never been able to do before.
Because it's a podcast, I can ask dumb questions. Do you ever just tempted just to go jump in the pit? I look at it, it's very inviting. Just go jump in that thing.
Yeah. It's really hard to get out of. The older you are, especially, it's great when you're like 7 and 8 and you just kind of walk across the top. But it's incredibly safe, but it's not easy to get out of the older you get. I have not done, the girls have been on me about this, but I haven't played gymnastics very much yet. And they keep telling me I need to start doing some things, but I will definitely be using the pit if I decide to go back and try some old skills.
So you get a chance now to enjoy this. I mean, savor it as much as you can and catch your breath. And now the question is, okay, you've made the 4 on the floor. You've kind of taken that next step. You've got a beautiful facility. In some cases, I think and I've talked to coaches who have made that step. Now the hard work really starts again, right? I mean, not to heap a bunch of expectations on anybody, but right, it can become a new ball game now.
Absolutely. The expectations, I think really for our staff are very similar. I mean, we've always wanted to be at this level, and we know what we need to do to get there, but there isn't much time off. I mean, we're already thinking about next steps and how we continue to train our athletes, recruiting, all the things you need to do to stay at this level. There isn't much of a break, but we're definitely excited about what's in front of us. And I think now knowing what is capable, what we are capable of, is going to help us, guide our way there.
And from that standpoint, I mean, recruiting is the lifeblood, right? The better gymnast you get, probably the better scores you're going to get over the course of a long haul. And you've recruited for fit, you've recruited locally. Obviously, this is such a gymnastics crazy community. So how does that change, if anything, now with what you've accomplished with the new building and with all this stuff moving forward?
Well, I think there's a lot of excitement in the community. I know I personally I've had a lot of people reach out to me, a lot of the local coaches, and I think they're really proud of what we've been able to do. And I think they're excited to see the success here, And I'm really hopeful that they kind of translate that into saying, okay, let's keep Minnesota at the top. Let's send our best kids there. Let's continue to find ways to make this a program that everybody wants to come to. But yeah, we've been really fortunate with a lot of the athletes that we've had locally that have been big difference makers. And honestly, we couldn't do it without our local athletes. They have helped us get to this level and stay at this level. And the goal is to continue to keep as many at home as possible.
And from that standpoint, obviously you mentioned it's the lifeblood. A lot of local athletes have been very, very good for you. Even watching the other night, there's some Minnesota kids on some of these other power teams too. And that's always PJ Fleck gets this question, Nico Medved gets this question. Can you keep one or two more, keep what you got and each year, and then add one or two that might be going to someplace else, and that can help, right?
Oh, absolutely. I do think, the more the local athletes, even the young ones, see the upper level local athletes, that becomes, more of a dream for them. Like, I can stay here and I can make Minnesota great, and I can continue this great tradition of tremendous athletes staying at home. So that is the goal. And I know we've got a lot of local athletes coming up that we're very excited about, and we hope that Minnesota is at the top of their list.
Lots of times over the years, gymnastics has created folk heroes, right? I mean, Mary Lou Retton's on a Wheaties box if you go all the way back, probably before you were even born. But can there be some of that here in this new age of NIL with the community that you've got here locally and businesses and stuff that you can kind of create some advantages to have athletes stay home too and reap some benefits off the floor, so to speak? Yeah,
absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting out into more of those spaces with our athletes for sure. But these are tremendous young women. I mean, they're some of the brightest women you'll ever meet. I'm going to talk about Sarah here for a minute. I know she's not local, but she just won the Scholar Athlete of the Year award, which is the first in our program history. And so they're incredibly bright women. They give back to the community. I mean, you want everybody to look up to these women because they're doing everything right. They're exactly who you want your daughters and your sons to look up to and to model themselves after. So they are exactly who you want in our communities and representing the university.
Yeah, maybe one of them someday will be on the front of a Wheaties box or something. You had the Freshman of the Year, Ariana. What's the future like for her now?
Oh, I'm so excited for her because I think she really knows like how good she is. And I say that, and she's such a humble young woman. But I think, she knows now that she can continue to take this team to the next level. And, her only experience is being at the Final Four. So, she's going to want to get back there and bring her team along with her. And now she knows what that looks like. So I absolutely think she's going to help continue to take this team to the back. We'll get back there because of the leadership she'll bring.
Last question, and I don't want to bring it down at all, but there was some consternation about the coverage of that last day, as it was particularly late, right? When they didn't show a lot of Gophers. Yeah. Have you talked to anybody about that? Does it bug you? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody, but I've seen a little bit of the social media and such that's been out there. I think it's disappointing for the fact that, I feel like we're such a great story, and to be able to highlight that on national television would have been such a great opportunity to do that. And then women work so hard. And I know we've got a lot of our local fans, our national fans, we're really hoping to see us a little bit more than what was broadcast. So I think in that sense, it was disappointing. And I as well as I know there are ways to be able to do it better. Like I said, I was watching the semifinals and the dual split screen was great, I thought. So I would have hoped they would have been able to do that a little bit more in the finals. And like I said, I think it's more of a disappointment from the fans, that were so excited to see us in this championship and didn't get that opportunity.
That said, you were on a national stage. I mean, you're the talk of the town right now, so that part's got to be a good consolation too, right? Yes. If some of it was disappointing, I mean, people are talking about you at the national level too.
Yeah, no, it is so fun to hear from so many people and how proud they are of our program, of the young women on the team, and just the excitement that's been brought to the university and the state itself has been really incredible.
Awesome. Thanks. Great job. It was fun watching. And, hey, next season will be coming around. I suppose season tickets are going to be hard to get?
I hope so, yes. I mean, we had our strongest season tickets ever already this past year, so I would imagine it's going to be a difficult ticket.
Gophersports.com, folks, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
My thanks to Jenny Hansen for joining me on the Go Gopher podcast this week. What a whirlwind the last few weeks have been for Gopher women's gymnastics. Want to talk about one of our great sponsors, OnX Hunt. Spring in Minnesota is busy. Gopher baseball's in full swing, softball's rolling along, and spring football this week as well. And somehow, a lot of you are still finding time to get out into the woods and chasing those turkeys. If you're going to squeeze in a hunt between games, you better know where you have to be and where you can be. The OnX Hunt app shows you public land, private land boundaries, and access points all on your phone. So you can make the most of every window you've got this spring. Download OnX Hunt wherever you find apps and start your free 7-day trial. Know where you stand with OnX Hunt from OnX Maps. When we come back, we'll talk Gopher men's golf.
Know what happy is? Veggies. Crunchy, crispy, colorful, seasonal, aromatic, juicy veggies. Produce at its freshest. Cub produce. Best produce, period. Guaranteed to make you happy or will replace it. No questions asked. Because good produce makes veggie lovers happy. Just remember, fresh, happy. Stale, limp, and wilted, not happy. You want to make a veggie lover happy? Shop Cub for produce. And shop happy.
Hey Gopher fans, Bobby Durkin here from Minnesota men's basketball. In our program, championship culture is built on toughness, trust, and showing up every day to do the work. That's why I'm proud to support the True North family of companies. True North invests in elite teams, like the championship team at True North Mergers and Acquisitions, Minnesota's largest seller of companies. To learn more about True North and their family of independently owned companies, visit thetruenorthfamily.com. That's how champions are built.
Episode 218 rolls on, the Go Gopher Podcast. We're going to talk some men's golf. Returning to our podcast is head coach Justin Smith. Great to see you.
Oh, thanks for having me back. Yeah, fun time of year for us.
Yeah, exciting time for sure. You're a couple of weeks removed from a tournament win, and it's very hard to win tournaments in college golf, and you got one at Ohio State. You were at Indiana last week. Big Ten's coming up next week as we talk, and it's a busy stretch, but let's go back. You had to be thrilled with the performance out at Ohio State to get a bunch of individual efforts, which equals a good team effort and a trophy.
Yeah, no, I think it was certainly a long time coming, and for us to be able to go into Columbus, I remember texting Mark Coyle a little bit right after the event, and I said, man, nothing feels better than going into Columbus and beating Ohio State on their turf, and obviously a bunch of other teams as well that were great and very competitive in the landscape of college golf. But our team has been trending that way. We've had some great opportunities being in contention, being the final group on the last day, and couldn't quite get it done. In different varying reasons. Sometimes we just got beaten. Sometimes maybe we didn't play our best coming on the stretch. But to see our guys thrive in that environment was so much fun. And kind of like I told them, I said, you guys achieved something that nobody can take away from you. The trophies, that experience as a group, right? That is something so special, and just can't be more thrilled to see them progress that way.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, in college golf, it's hard to win tournaments. There's a bunch of teams, and they're all, swinging the stick, and they're all hoping to do stuff. So when you get that opportunity, and it's there for the close, and you guys close it out, and then you get, at the end, you look up at the leaderboard. What's that emotion like as a coach to see your guys finish the deal?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, one of my kind of rules within myself is I don't leaderboard watch. And so I spend so much time watching our players, their body language, the way they interact with each other, and kind of going into the tournament, we had kind of a team kind of motto in a way, or kind of a vibe we wanted to create, and kind of the connection within the 5 players out there was something that we really focused on. Had nothing to do with result. We knew the results would take care of themselves if we did that, but we know that's kind of the identity of what this group needs to be about. And certainly they executed that in a great way and had some fun interactions. And when you're doing with a bunch of sophomores and freshmen, that kind of what our roster is, and we've got some great senior leadership, there's a fun vibe to it. And certainly as coaches, they keep us young and keep us excited. But when I finally checked on the 17th hole, just to know, I kind of knew where things were, but I think we had a 12-shot lead as a team with just a couple guys left to come in. to really feel that and celebrate it and kind of feel like you can take a little bit of a breath, knowing sometimes it comes down to one shot, you're just on pins and needles. But we could really enjoy that and see our guys finish it off and kind of see their reactions behind the green when our last putt was holed is something you'll remember forever. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have been good over the years. I mean, it isn't like you haven't won one in 20 years. There are programs who haven't because it's that hard to do it. It's, there's a tournament here, tournament there. I think it was only, a season and a half ago you guys had another win. That said, it never gets old, right?
Well, and that's the schedule we want to play, right? We sit there in Minnesota and go, hey, there's one team out there that's ranked number one, and you want to be ranked number one come first part of June at La Costa, but we want to play against the best. And so we know team wins are hard to come by, and this was an event that kind of prepped us for that. And, you don't take it for granted. And just to be able to see all 5 guys enjoy that. We had an individual win as well with Jack Krausor, but that's what's special. And I think someone like myself who played college golf a long, long time ago was able to enjoy some of those, so we try to really make it special for them.
Yeah, of course, when you say you played a long, long time ago, that was at the highest of levels, winning the national championship.
Yeah, well, Columbus has been good to me, right?
Yeah.
We won here
Is that
in
where
Columbus.
It was?
Yep, it was at the Scarlet course. We weren't able to play the Scarlet this year due to NCAA regionals being there. So, I think we'll hopefully keep playing some more tournaments in Columbus.
Yeah, I love Columbus. I played the Scarlet course. You know about a deal that the Big Ten radio guys in the last 6 or 7 years annually have gone to a different place and golfed at different venues. And we did the Scarlet course. In fact, I also played the Indiana course. I think I lost about 27 Costco golf balls. Thank God they were Costco golf balls and not Pro V1s or something, but what's it called?
The Foul golf course, yeah. They redid it.
Killer.
Yeah, within the last 10 years, 8 years, and boy, we got beat up this past week, but good lessons learned.
Yeah, exactly. So the Scarlet course, they were getting that prep for some sort of a amateur state am. So they had when we played it, this was probably 3 years ago, Paul Keel's the voice of the Buckeyes, hosted a bunch of us out there, and they were growing the rough pretty high, so not that my score was going to be good anyway, but it inflated pretty quickly when I was spraying my shot.
Boy, yeah, no, just knowing if they're putting you on the Scarlet, like that course along with the Foul, and there's a couple of Big Ten courses I'd put in that category, but these courses could host any tournament in the world, any professional event. Yeah. So when you throw the college kids out there, we got some good learning lessons that usually come out of it.
Sure. You should see the hacking golf hacking radio announcers trying to golf those courses. It's crazy. When we also talk about winning in the tournament, you mentioned that, and it's kind of cool within the athletic department. We're recording here in the Bierman podcast studio in the Bierman Building, Athletes Village, and even just walking over to your office just a second ago, pass a couple of coaches and say hi and fist bump and whatever. Yeah. You and Nico Medved, the men's golf coach, because he's a big golf fan and he wants to buddy up to you for sure. That you actually had a conversation with him prior to that Ohio State meet, and now he wants to take credit for that trophy. Huh?
Yeah, well, no, it's interesting. We just came off of 2 really good events at Colleton River and then Sea Island, where we were in contention to win, finished 3rd. And then we co-host a tournament with St. Thomas. My old assistant, Matt Raichi, is running the St. Thomas program. So we co-hosted an event down in Arizona together, and for lack of a better term, our team just didn't really perform great. Laid an egg, whatever you want to call it. And so we knew kind of some reasons why, and we really wanted to kind of get back to the drawing board and really encourage some things. But it was kind of a couple days before we left, and I was struggling with a little bit of a message to our team, and I called Nico. And the best thing about Nico is when he first got hired here, and his family hadn't officially moved here yet, he was at our golf facility every night, and I had to make sure we get a Gopher bag in his golf arsenal versus get the Colorado State bag out of there. But he's tremendous. I've spent time in his office picking his brain about all kinds of stuff. Same thing with Coach Fleck. He's tremendous. Big golfers, they love it, and that's really important to us, and it's really helpful to us to have them on board with that. But Nico, the funniest thing is he's like, well, I'm not going to really give you some secret coach talk here. It's just kind of know the identity of your team, know what you have to do to be successful, and just really hammer that message. And so it really eased my mind to feel like, okay, I don't have to search for this crazy verbiage or lingo or whatever to get our guys going, right? It's just, this is who we are, and this is what we have to do to be successful. And I think that we got that figured out in a pretty quick fashion. So fun conversation with Nico to follow up on that. He's awesome. His family's awesome. can't be more thrilled for kind of the family environment we create here within our coaching staffs across all sports. So it's really cool.
So you win the meet, and then do you get a text from him saying, "Hey, you're welcome"?
No, I don't think it was that, but I did see him at Chipotle yesterday, and we were chatting a little bit about it. But yeah, I think that. I think he knows, like, hey, maybe this golf coaching thing could be something in my retirement plans or something. Yeah,
I hear he can swing it. Have you golfed with him?
I have. I've seen him at our golf facility, and he was out all last summer with a lot of different supporters. But I definitely know I know what his handicap is. So if he asks for more strokes than he's trying to possibly earn, then I know I can call his bluff. But he knows what he's doing out there. He's great.
I saw a tweet this week too. You brought up PJ Fleck that he golfs in this annual Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl kind of a deal in Atlanta. A bunch of coaches go down and golf, and I think they announced their pairings, and I think this has been 3 or 4 years. So have you golfed with him at any point, and how does he swing it?
I did last summer. We did the fun kind of football golf thing at Les Bolstad with a lot of his players and student athletes, and then some of ours that were in town still in the summer. So him and I played. He's the competitiveness is crazy off the charts, which is fun. There's no one better dressed than Coach Fleck on the golf course. He's got it all dialed up.
The threads, wherever he is, the threads are crazy.
We get a lot of our team apparel ideas through him, and certainly we'll have to consult with him. But I know he loves Interlaken, and he loves kind of taking advantage of the course there in the summertime before he comes on campus for the day. But I think just and usually when he comes to our facility and hangs with our team, it's like, hey, I've got 30 minutes, I got 45 minutes, I got to get back. But then it turns into 3 hours, and he's in the simulator, and then he finds out Interlaken's on TrackMan. So it's a lot of fun to see. And then usually the chipping comps and things like that with our team. The competitive juices really flow into golf even more so than just football.
Yeah, he's the best. It's awesome. And so it's kind of cool that the whole athletic department kind of gets on the same page there, and you guys can share stories or messages, or if you need to call on somebody, sometimes it's simple, right? You call and find out that, okay, we'll just make it simple.
Yeah, I think the support's there in so many creative ways, and I try to tap into it as much as I can. I'm certainly never the smartest person in the room, but I feel like I know who that person might be and really lean on them. But I think that's what's unique about golf. I think what we can all and what we try to kind of ingrain in our student athletes is golf can be used in so many ways. It's an engine for so many things, and I think our athletic department knows that. They all play golf. It's just fun to share that and to take that out in our community. It's just different than I think most sports. So we really don't. We really wrap our arms around it right and try to take full advantage of it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you win Ohio State's tournament. You got the trophy. You had the medalist. Tell me about Jack Krausower. Is that how you pronounce it? Krausower. Tell me about him. You won the medalist for that meet.
Yeah, tremendous. Jack's got so many great leadership abilities kind of within himself. Someone that we'll lean on for the future, no question, as we have great seniors that'll be graduating, and Kyler Schwam will be our only senior next year. So he'll be tremendous in that room, but also kind of Jack is that next that next kind of wave, and then we've got a great freshman class as well. But so that's what I really admire most about Jack. Like, he thinks of the game at a crazy high level. Like, he wants to be here to win big time tournaments, not just like have a great experience, right? And which is important, but at the same time, like when we know the competitive edge we're trying to create and the standard we're going to create, right? Jack embodies that along with a lot of other guys. He's really vocal with it. I really admire that. I love his honesty. He's really honest with myself. Doesn't shy away from things. Doesn't beat around the bush. So it shows in his golf game. He's a gritty player. Probably if you saw him on a range, you'd be like, okay, like that. That's really good. But someone might hit it further. Someone might hit it straight. Like, that's okay. But he can get you with the sum of his parts.
Yeah.
So that's what's really exciting about a coach, is just the competitive edge he brings. What allows him to obviously win, like he did at Ohio State.
Yeah. Did he get on a heater too, or how did that tournament go for him?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was playing very solid. He shot 2 under the first 2 rounds, and then kind of got off to a solid start. But then he made 6 birdies in a row on the back 9. And he came up to me. Yeah, to this point, right? We didn't talk about result hardly ever. We just talked about kind of attitudes and body language and the connection within the team. But he came up to me on the 17th hole, and he was kind of talking. He was kind of obviously in a really good mood. He goes, yeah, I've just made 6 birdies in a row, and my furthest putt, I had made 1 putt at 20 feet. Everything else was within 5 feet. So the iron game and the ball striking tee to green was just really on point. And to see someone perform at that level when it really matters, like those are experiences that you can really stock away and really be beneficial,
especially when they're young guys, right?
Yeah.
No
the
doubt.
future of the team, right? That's the core group we've got.
Yeah, pretty cool. All right, so then Indiana last week we mentioned how tough that course is, and it was that by design. Did you want to challenge your team coming off Ohio State and then into next week's conference championship?
Yeah, basically, we knew we were going to see a bunch of Big Ten teams at Indiana in the foul course, and we know how that golf course plays. Especially in the springtime when you've got rain, you got wind, kind of cooler temps. It was every bit of that. And I know the coach there sets it up really hard and kind of really challenges us. So the scores we knew were going to be crazy inflated, just like everyone else was. I think the 13th ranked team in the country shot 23 over. So you don't see that very often throughout the regular season, but that is the preparation we wanted our guys to have going into Pumpkin Ridge and Big Ten Championship.
Yeah, and total sidebar, as I was thinking about this, with those courses, often the campus courses are public courses. So if there's people that want to golf good courses, I looked it up. The Indiana course for just a general public person, like they have a faculty rate. Cart, everything included, $70.
Yeah, that's a steal for that.
Right, I think it was 92 for Ohio for the the Scarlet. That's not
to
bad.
Get that good at golf under $100 these days is hard to find. So kudos to them for what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's a tough course, and I know we'll have people listening that want to try courses or they travel the country or whatever. And if you want to make it an affordable trip, you can play really high quality courses that that don't cost an arm and a leg, so to speak. Yeah.
Would agree. That's a hard business model to find these days.
Yeah, right, no doubt. All right, so Big Ten's coming up. It's out in Oregon, May 1st through the 3rd. What can you tell us about the course? And I guess this is part of the expansion of the conference now with Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA coming into the mix.
Yeah, certainly. We'll see. I think the one unknown that we have right now is what rough length will be, right? So the good news is at foul, like they grew the rough really high, like we got really good experience. So if it is high, like we'll be ready to go. If it's down a little bit, that might change a little bit of a game plan once we get there. But yeah, it's look, I think this was Tiger Woods' coming out party in 1996, his little final U.S. Amateur that he won over that famous 36-hole match with Steve Scott, where he made those long putts, I think on 17. And so really historic venue, really cool. Clearly, we don't go out to the Pacific Northwest very often. And so really, I think exciting for our team to kind of go do this in a Big Ten championship in a quick way once these West Coast schools really got integrated. This was kind of a huge bullet point for the Big Ten Conference to say, hey, let's take our championship out there pretty quickly once the 4 schools came in. So it's going to be damp. It's going to be cool. It's going to be typical kind of Minnesota spring weather, I think, and certainly something we'll be used to. And we got to hit it straight. It's a very tight course, and we got to make sure we got the right game plans off the tee. And I think our guys will be fine. They've proven they can make a ton of birdies, and if we're accurate off the tee, we'll have every opportunity to go out there and play with those guys.
Pumpkin Ridge is the course. You mentioned depending on the rough, you would discuss strategy. So as a golf coach, what does that mean? Like if it's higher, you might not use driver as much, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, potentially. And I think this is more right. The modern golf course is more wide open. They're getting rid of trees. So no matter where you hit it, you kind of have an unimpeded shot to the green.
Right.
Pumpkin Ridge is different. It's kind of old school. It's the big, tall pines, kind of like you see at Sahali, or you see some of these other venues in the Pacific Northwest that have hosted maybe some major championships through the years. So our team, for the most part, is quite long. And so we can really use that to our advantage. But I think it's knowing that if the rough length is there, the course isn't very long to begin with. It's 7,000 yards par 72. For a championship venue, like you don't see that very often at our level. So I always sit there and go, okay, what's the catch, right? So rough length, green firmness, where they hide pins. So there's a little more strategy to know that we want to be coming from the fairway if we're going to access some hole locations. So we'll kind of make that call once we get a little closer, and we know what the weather is kind of be leading into it. They don't look like they're going to have a ton of rain. So because of that, maybe it'll be a little thinner, and we can play from the rough a little bit more often.
This is going to sound like a total amateur question on my part, but now with technology, you can go to any course, and a lot of times there's video, there's maps, there's different things. Will you guys use that if some of your players maybe haven't played that place before?
Yeah, absolutely. I know our assistant coach, Cam, he's tremendous at this kind of course prep and kind of build up for each tournament that we do. to make sure our whole goal is like, do our players know the golf course before we get there in the practice round? And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to have played it. So that's our goal as coaches, to know that like once we stand up on a hole, even though they've never seen it, that they know exactly what they're doing. It's not this kind of crunching for the final exam, right? Like if we're doing that, then we're not preparing our guys well enough. So we do a tremendous job with that. He spends countless hours getting ready for that for our guys and getting them the information they need. But yeah, the technology between our yardage books, between Google Earth, between just finding clips from, I think Live Golf played there maybe a couple years ago in Portland, and seeing those video clips of how those players played certain holes, it can all be used to help us be just a little bit more sharp.
Yeah. We mentioned the expansion. How good are those West Coast schools at golf? You figure, man, the weather for sure. The LA schools, I would assume. I don't know.
Yeah.
What has that meant in terms of the complexion of the league now?
Yeah. When they came in, I think all 4 were ranked like top 30, right? And so you got USC's tremendous year, UCLA's tremendous team. They're top 25 teams. Washington and Oregon are great programs. Maybe not having the year that they usually do, but still ranked top 50 and ones that can win a golf tournament at any time. And I think that's what's cool about the Big Ten Conference, and we've proven that. You see teams, obviously Ohio State, Illinois, Purdue, Northwestern. These teams can win tournaments at any given time. So you get into a Big Ten championship when it's all on the line, and that happens. Like, it makes it for a very exciting tournament.
Yeah. How would you handicap next week if you're so bold as to offer us something?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the golf course definitely is one that can really suit us. We're going to spend a lot of time on driving accuracy. That's something that we didn't do as great at Indiana here, and kind of paid the price for it in different areas. But if our guys, we can take advantage of our length and play from the fairway. I know it sounds pretty cliche, but that's going to allow us the opportunities. And we've proven that in different events through the spring, we've led making birdies. And so we always battle this, like, is it avoidance or is it, kind of attacking golf courses? And we always stress the avoidance. It's always just creating the opportunities. But we know these guys have a lot of firepower. So if the weather works that way and we kind of have the opportunity to kind of attack some hole locations there, like we will, and if we're sharp, we can be right in the position we want to be. I'm not going to guarantee anything. Our whole goal is, like, can we be in position on the back 9 to win the golf tournament?
Yeah.
And just see where the chips fall.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's good, right? I mean, there's teams that are probably going in there thinking we don't.
Yeah.
It's going to be a struggle to try to be in that position, and it might be, but you feel like there's a chance.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it has to do with the golf course.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think as a coach, like, we spend so much time on scheduling throughout an entire year, but also the Big Ten championship venue, what we come to, we know the type of courses our players play well on, and the ones that have given us some fits, and we need to tighten parts of the game. And I definitely think the way this course sets up, with us doing our job the next week or so as coaches, like, we'll have them ready to go.
Let's talk about your roster just a minute. We mentioned Jack, who was a medalist a couple of weeks ago. You mentioned you have some young guys, some senior leadership. Like, if I asked PJ Fleck to go through his roster, it's 105 guys. In golf, it's a little less stringent.
Yeah.
So tell us about the guys that are wearing the maroon and gold a little bit.
Yeah, we've coming into this year, like, we lost. We had 2 seniors that played almost all year last year for us, and they graduated and did great things for us. And then, so coming in this year was a little bit unknown. We knew we were going to be really young. We had some inexperience kind of in our upper class. But really, yeah, we've kind of been led by 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen. They've played almost all year. And our 2 sophomores, Jack Krausor and Chunta Wu from Sydney, Australia. Chunta won at Sea Island just a few weeks ago as well, shooting 18 under par and tying some program records. So it was amazing golf he played. To have 2 separate winners, I think, in the same year individually, that hasn't happened in a long time for our program too. So a lot of great promise there. Our freshmen have been they've been so mature, they've been so rock solid in so many ways. That means they haven't shot the best scores every week, but at the same time, like, their maturity on the course and, like, the connection they've had with everybody has been huge that you don't see too often with freshmen. And then Jack Wetzel and Cormac Sharp, our 2 seniors, have kind of bounced in and out at times. Cormac has really kind of made a way. He had his career best finish with a T3 at Ohio State recently. So kind of all trending in the great direction here. And then Ryan Stendall from Maple Grove, a sophomore, and Kyler Schwam from Farmington, a junior, kind of round out a roster there. They work their tails off, tremendous mental support for our guys. Just the connection, that's what I see and what I get the most excited about. I know the golf scores will come, but the connection all 8 of them have, like, that's where kind of the team vibes have come from and the success has kind of come from.
It's kind of fun, too, in golf especially. You mentioned several Minnesota kids, and that's always been the case with this roster. But and then a national flavor and often international flavor. I think you mentioned Australia just a minute ago. And, I mean, at times you've had guys from Iceland. I think you got a guy, right? England and all kinds of stuff. So
golf season could be short in Iceland, yeah.
How does that recruiting then for you and your staff in regard to, all right, we got a kid from Farmington or Maple Grove or Stillwater or wherever it is. And then we also literally recruit the globe as well.
Yeah. Well, it's fit, right? Fit starts with everything. And we know what Minnesota athletics is about. We know what our university is about and our community here is about. So we do have to get creative and go kind of beyond our borders, like really beyond our borders. But everything starts and stops in Minnesota. Like we have our sights on Minnesota and who's either the person we're going after right now or who's the next crop kind of coming up. And that often starts this time of year with the high school season going. But that's where I think someone like Chun Ta Wu from Australia, who we have great connections with Australia, the coach I played for, Brad James from Australia. And then Cormac Sharp from Scotland, where we've had Angus Flanagan from England. We've had Harry Plowman from England, Harrison Arnold from England, and then Scotland, we have another Finley Galloway who will be coming this fall. Pretty soon here from Scotland. So that UK situation works well. Why? Because, for lack of a better term, the weather is kind of crummy there. Yeah. Like we know in Minnesota, it's not the hotbed for Minnesota, for golf weather most of the year. So we need that kind of flair to come in and kind of be okay with it. And so that fit really matters. And these guys have really kind of embraced that. And and the Minnesota kids really help educate them what it is like to be here, the pride of the maroon and gold. And it's funny to see the international kids really take that on and become the biggest fans you'll see on campus of all sports. Yeah. So that's what's really special on my end to see that kind of come really into fruition.
With and then as that goes, when you have January, February, December, you're not now you guys do some trips during that time to get out and play real courses, but you mentioned Nico comes over the facility. The facility is really nice. Tell for those that aren't familiar with it, it's relatively new. It's still right around, was it right
when Athletes
COVID
Village opened,
a little
so
before
Minnesota
then,
Golf got like this transformation, right? Yeah. Athletes Village opens, our golf facility opens, and so we kind of had this new start to this era. Yeah. But yeah, we've done a lot of improvements, I think. Once the building went up and those coaches got that all kind of came to light, and then it was kind of moving into it. And then how do we operate, right? I always talk about a facility is only as good as the people in there to operate. Yeah. So we have to have our coaches operating at a high level, our players that want to utilize it at all times of the day, even more so than practice times that we're not out there. So they really kind of take that on and are out there as a group all the time. And the technology we have, the TrackMans, the GC quads, the putt views, the SAM putt labs, all these things that help them really understand their technique and what they got to do to develop as a player. We've done, I think, a really nice job between our men's and women's programs to kind of accommodate and really support our athletes that way. So we're always looking to improve. I think we got some fun ideas of what we might do here in the future to make sure that we have the facility we need to be one of the best in the Big Ten Conference, if not in the country.
And I've been over there a couple of times. It's not just, and I don't want to say just because that is something, but it's not just like a golf simulator like you'd see at some, a lot of these places are opening up because it's become a nice business in Minnesota in the wintertime where my son's in a league. They go every Monday during the winter and they play and indoors and might enjoy a beverage or two and what have. My son's old enough, so he's not like 10. But it's more than that, like a lot more than that. So what else, describe what else is in there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a home, right? Like I think, especially in the winter months, like I always run these numbers, and this isn't probably my greatest recruiting pitch, but like we're, when our athletes are on campus 8 months of the year, I mean, golf courses aren't open, but all but 5 of them, right? Yeah. So this is where we spend so much time as a group, as 10 of us, like 2 coaches and then 8 players. We share it with the women, obviously, too. But, we've incorporated a workroom where we can check lies and loss. We can do regripping. We've got team locker rooms. We've got lounges. We've got media areas that, we can do team meetings and Zoom meetings with recruits. And so this is like a really multi-dimensional kind of place for us to the future of our program, right? It's to put all that emphasis on one building is crazy at times, but, it's the truth. And so we embrace as coaches, and that's why we're always trying to upgrade. Always trying to make sure we're on the leading edge of what these players need to not only their experience, but their development, because they all want to play golf at a higher level than college, and that's the players we want here, knowing that that's the way they're wired and the effort they'll put in. We got to support them on the technology side. So we have 6 hitting bays. One hitting bay is strictly kind of TrackMan simulator hitting bay where you can do golf courses and get ready for tournaments that way. The other 5 are kind of a little smaller, but they really constitute kind of that technology side, that technique side in a way to learn club path, to learn face angle, what's your ball speed, what's your spin rates, things like that you really dive in to really be more predictable with your game.
Yeah. Is there ways to, like, I know there's literally a driving range out there. Can you use that in the winter?
Yeah, for sure. Right. We just can't. We don't see those balls till the snow melts.
Till it smells.
So we got to have a lot of golf balls in our arsenal here. But yeah, the doors roll
70
up.
dozen balls.
We can send them out there, and
yeah.
we got wedge targets. We got a really cool outdoor facility that we'll keep kind of shining up, and that's what's cool. Our ground staff, Andy Johnson and his staff, and what they do for us in a place where we share the space a little bit with women's soccer.
Yeah.
So Coach Chastain's she's pretty accommodating for us, and knowing there might be some random golf balls laying around. But yeah. So but it's amazing. Like this time of year where you think like, okay, grass is growing a little bit, leaves are coming, but like we are almost mid-season. Yeah. Right away when the snow lifts. So kudos to them. They're tremendous at kind of what they do for our facility.
And then once it does warm up, you guys have some cool partnerships and relationships with some clubs around town. Take me through what a typical week of practice might be as you guys get ready. And I know it changes week to week, but typically just an example.
And I think this week will probably paint that picture really well. So we'll be out at TPC Twin Cities. Our team has access out there. We're working on a partnership with Windsong Farm and the Meyer family. They're tremendous with our Gopher Invite and helping us get more access out there to kind of have it feel like a home course. So, and these are the courses that help us prepare for these big championships. Not that other ones don't, but this is kind of where modern college golf is. And so we try to take advantage of that. So today, like we have a couple hours, we'll play and really do on-course specific drills, that kind of things that we learn from Indiana, but we know we have to apply to Pumpkin Ridge. And so that's where our kind of research and stuff as coaches, that we need to spend time to make sure our guys are working on the right stuff. But on course is really where you can get after situations that maybe a driving range can't. And we try to spend, especially now with the weather getting better, we'll spend as much time doing that as we can.
In a typical week, how many holes might your team play? A guy might play.
Yeah, within our 20-hour allotment that we get this time of year, we'll play 2 full rounds. We might do 2 9-holes. That eats up a lot of that. We're still working out. We're still in the gym. We're still making sure that our players' legs are under them for these 36 hole days, and we have every advantage that way. But yeah, it's probably, we'll call it 3 full rounds. Right there is 12 to 13 hours.
Sure.
And then you got workouts and stuff. So it eats into the chunk a bit, but that's where we need to spend our time because we haven't had the golf courses up here. So we try to take full advantage of it here leading into May.
Will some of the guys play on their own too, maybe adding around here or there during the week? Yeah.
They can make arrangements with the course, and the staff there are incredible that they know who our players are, and they know our roster. So if they're going out there on their own, us coaches aren't supposed to know about that, right? But we certainly know that that's kind of what it takes too.
You mentioned workouts and those kind of things, and it kind of opened my eyes. It's not new now, but the Full Swing or whatever it was on Netflix, it's come out or has been out. I remember watching the first season, and I think it was Koepka and Spieth and some other guys, and they're pretty regimented workout routines with flexibility, but muscle building too. How has that changed in golf in the last 10, 15, 20 years?
Well, certainly Tiger Woods was the pioneer of this. Maybe Gary Player, would claim that, but Tiger Woods really put this on the map, right? Turned golf into an athlete sport. What used to be kind of like brushed to the side as a sport, right, is now these athletes and these other multi-sport athletes that then focus primarily on golf and what their careers might look like there. So he certainly changed the sport that way. But for us, where we are now, we have anything from strength training, which we mainly do during the winter months. This time of year, it's more flexibility, it's endurance. There's a little bit of strength training to make sure we're maintaining and we're not losing that, knowing that has so much effect. Like, the stat that we follow as much as anything is strokes gained off the tee. And so that's followed on the PGA Tour, and we follow it like crazy in college here. And so usually where that is distance. And you don't have to be as accurate. You have to be accurate enough, but the distance is really where you kind of gain that. And so we have guys that have a lot of ball speed, and it's fun to see them hit it, far greater than anything I've ever been able to do. So that's where our gym is focused, in range of motion, strength, flexibility. We do a lot of PT work. So it all's got to work together to achieve these goals.
Is it generally, if you have more muscle, you hit it farther, or is it something other than that too?
Yeah, I think it's, our two freshmen, I call them, they're like rubber bands, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they just like wind up and then like they get that snap, right? And so that's not necessarily the muscle, but certainly the frame. And you need to have a frame to withstand that speed, or you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of it comes. And certainly Jack Krausor, like he's someone who spends a lot of time trying to add a little bit more to his frame to kind of gain a little bit more speed, but it's really kind of injury prevention too. So when they're playing all year and they're twisting and that back is going and it gets tired, right? My back's getting tired thinking about it, right? Exactly. Just like you said. So it's a lot of that got to work in there. So we spend a lot of time and we invest a lot of money and kind of dollars. And our strength trainer, Adam Shire here, he's tremendous and really invests in our guys. So they feel that, and I think our program can probably be as good as anything out there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so I almost never have a coach on here now in today's landscape and not ask about how, if at all, NIL transfer portal 2 is new. Maybe that's a little less factor with you guys, but NIL, I mean, if there's ever a sport that has relied over the years at a professional level on sponsorships and taking advantage of name, image, and likeness in whatever way it is, it's golf, right? I mean, they might be the original. I mean, they look like NASCAR
the walking
guys.
billboards out
billboards. There. I mean, guys, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, not a lot of guys actually wore hats. If you go back and look, there weren't a lot of guys wearing hats.
Never
right?
thought of it that way. But yeah, you're
all of a
probably
sudden
right.
you start putting
every
name
space
brands
has a price
on
tag.
a hat and hey, we'll pay you whatever. In fact, there's an unbelievable story. I grew up in Iowa, as you know, and I know you have some connections, and some of the players over the years have come from there. Amana is the refrigerator brand. The old Amana hats way back in the day. That's kind of how some of that started.
Those were one of the first ones.
One of the first ones. And
wow.
And I just read a story a couple of weeks ago. I didn't even plan to bring it up, but it just hit me, and so I will because it's a podcast. What the heck? But I think the guy's name was Lou King. He was in charge of – eventually ended up being like an executive at the PGA Tour, but he was with Amana, and they would host this – I remember growing up, it was the Amana VIP at Finkbein, the university course down there, and they would bring in the week after the U.S. Open and be a one-day event. I think I'm kind of correct on this. People can find the story, but they would pay some pros to come in and play. Tom Watson was always the marquee guy. Jim Dent, remember Jim Dent? He won that thing a couple of times. Yep. But then they would have their dealers, national dealers, the top producers would come in and get to play with these guys.
Oh,
it's kind of a pro-am. And they had these hats. Everyone got an Amana hat, but it wasn't really a big deal. And I think it was Jim Dent one day, he's playing in a tournament and the sun's out and it's hot and he needs something to cover his eyes, and in his bag his caddy pulls out this old hat from the Amana VIP and he wears it. And this Lou King, I think as the story goes, started getting, there's no text or internet, getting calls like, hey, we saw your hat, and it dawned on him. So he started paying guys $50 a tournament.
Wow.
To wear this, and all of a sudden it's like 100 guys are wearing these Amana hats, and guys are like, hey, how much are you getting for that? And you think now, this is the 70s, $50, some golfers are top 100 money makers making $30,000 a year, so $50 a tournament, a couple extra grand a year, why not? And then that kind of started, I think, everything in motion. So that's a backdrop to Coach, how's NIL going, and does it have an impact on your program at all right now in regard to helping either recruit or maintain, or just helping your guys, even if it's going to get a burrito down the street? I don't know.
I think that, look, I always feel that where golf is in the whole scheme of things within the athletic department certainly probably impacted the least with NIL versus all the other sports. But I've got to make sure that I'm always aware of where it is, right, and what's going to allow, because my job is to put the best group out there to perform for University of Minnesota, not just on the course, in the classroom, and in the community as well. And golfers, they're very, where I think these sponsorships really have kind of done really well, right? We're very visible. Yeah. We don't have a helmet on. Right, where you can get really up close, especially in these college events. Like we make these environments to where you can be really close, get to know these individuals. They're incredibly smart. If they're not going to play pro golf, they're going to be ones that are going to be running businesses one day. And our community really embraces that. So if it's not direct dollars that are going to our athletes, like we have creative ways to get them connected in our community, whether it's helping out with apparel situations for summer tournaments or winter break tournaments when they're not competing for Minnesota, like trying to always build these connections that we can do. And we've done a really good job, I think, with some tournaments and people in our community. That's where our Minnesota community, I think, is so undervalued. Like, there's amazing people in the golf world in Minnesota. And most people are like, well, would they be in Florida or Texas, Arizona? Yeah, maybe too. But like, we are really prideful of that.
It is crazy here, right?
I mean, and so we hope that our athletes really can take advantage of that, and we try to set these relationships up and spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah, excellent. If someone, if there are folks out there that say, hey, I wouldn't mind having a Gopher golfer, be an ambassador in whatever way, can they reach out to the program, or how do they do
Sure.
that?
I mean, call me up, or call Bella McCauley up, right? She's incredible at that, right? Yeah. And she's done a tremendous job, and it's been fun to follow that too.
Right? Emma Carpenter's made same thing. I think she's making a living on it now. Right?
No question. Yeah, and I think she might be at our Big Ten. She was last year doing some on-course commentating, so hopefully we'll see her this year too. But yeah, they're tremendous at it, and so professional and so mature in how they've approached it, and it's great for them. And hopefully maybe our guys can learn a little bit there. But yeah, I think I can only take it so far, right? Then it's got to go to compliance and go off to administrators and make sure we're doing it the right way. But yeah, if we can kind of point people in the right direction, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, awesome. Always appreciate you joining us. It's always an interesting and fun conversation, compelling, and let's go get it done next week out in Oregon.
I know, Minnesota, we've had a great track record of the Big Ten Championship, so we hopefully can add to that here next week.
Very good. There he is, Justin Smith, head golf coach, episode 218. My thanks to Gopher men's golf coach Justin Smith for sharing his time with us this week on the Go Gopher Podcast. The Big Ten tournament runs May 1st through 3rd at Pumpkin Ridge in North Plains, Oregon. Also, thanks to Jenny Hansen for joining earlier in the show, talking about the 4 on the Floor Final Four and that great run earlier this month. Episode 218 is presented by Sunbelt Business Advisors and True North Mergers and Acquisitions. If you're buying or selling a business, visit sunbeltminnesota.com or tnma.com. Cub is a proud supporter of Gopher Athletics for over 20 years and a proud sponsor of the Go Gopher Podcast with Mike Grimm. Cub, bigger savings on the items you love. Shop happy. OnX Hunt also sponsors our show, Happy Hunting from OnX Maps. Again, I'd invite you to listen to past podcasts, and please right now click that subscribe or follow button. It's free to subscribe, it's free to follow, and free to listen at any time. And please share the link to the podcast with others so they can subscribe and listen as well. And if you enjoyed our podcast, please let us know with some positive feedback on your social media channels. We'll talk again next week.
Know what the happiest bird is? Chicken. Cub fried chicken. Wait, let me rephrase that. Know what bird makes people happiest? Cub fried chicken. Crispy, crunchy, juicy, perfectly seasoned. It's the kind of chicken that disappears faster than you can say, 8-piece, please. Or, let's be real, maybe 12-piece. Because when it comes to fried chicken, more just means more happy. So if you're shopping chicken, shop Cub fried chicken and shop happy.